The galaxy had known many species, each with their own greatness and their eventual fall. The Zathar, the Zalthorn, the Vethari, each had risen, only to be swallowed by the vastness of time and the crushing weight of galactic politics. Yet, none had ever known the tenacity, the hunger, and the unyielding resolve that defined humanity. It was this quality that would not only shape the future of their own species but usher in a new era of galactic exploration and conquest that would ripple through the cosmos for centuries. The story of humanity's rise began far from the stars, on a small blue planet known as Earth. It was there, amid the struggles of survival, that the first seeds of greatness were planted. The human race, driven by an unquenchable thirst for discovery and an insatiable curiosity, embarked on their first journeys into space, despite the odds that stacked against them. In the early days, humanity's technological advancements were modest. They had cracked the code of faster-than-light travel, but only just. Their ships were small, their technology primitive compared to the ancient empires of the galaxy, but there was something in the way they approached their ventures that none of the other species could ignore. Where others had stalled in their progress, trapped by the confines of their own history, humanity pressed forward. It all started with the arrival of the first human fleet in the Andromeda sector, a place long dominated by the Vethari, a species whose advanced warships and unmatched intelligence had kept the galaxy at bay for millennia. They had considered themselves the apex, the gatekeepers of galactic knowledge and order. They had no use for the weak, the small, the insignificant species, such as humanity. But what the Vethari had not anticipated was humanity's resolve. Their ships, though new and untested, were driven by a raw energy, a willingness to risk everything for a chance at survival. And when they first encountered the Vethari on the edges of the Andromeda sector, they didn't bow. They didn't ask for permission. They didn't even seek peace. They fought. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. The Vethari, caught off guard by the audacity of these small, primitive creatures, underestimated their ingenuity. Human ships, built with the best technology Earth could provide, fought fiercely, using every tool at their disposal. They fought with a new kind of warfare, surprise, adaptation, and relentless determination. When the dust settled, the Vethari had been forced to retreat, their forces overwhelmed by the sheer willpower and unrelenting innovation of humanity. It was not the weapons or the ships that had secured the victory, it was the human mind, the ability to adapt on the fly, to turn every weakness into a strength. The galaxy, in all its sprawling complexity, had underestimated humanity. The victory sent shockwaves through the galaxy. The Vethari, once the gatekeepers of galactic order, had been humbled by a species they had thought beneath them. But that was only the beginning. Word spread quickly, as galaxies do, and other species, including the elusive Zathar and the ancient Zalthorn, began to take notice. Humanity had claimed its place on the galactic stage. The stage was set for an era of galactic exploration, but it was clear that humanity would not settle for merely being a part of the galaxy. They would carve their mark, create their own legacy. They would not be passive explorers, they would become conquerors, builders, and visionaries. And thus, the first seeds of the human legacy were sown. Humanity, fresh from its victory over the Vethari, began to spread its influence across the stars. They discovered new worlds, made allies, and built alliances that others could not even fathom. They forged new technologies, pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Each success, each victory, led to an ever-growing confidence, a belief that humanity was destined for something greater than survival, that they were meant to thrive, to lead. But as they grew, so too did the challenges. They soon learned that with power came enemies. Some species viewed their rise with envy, others with fear, and many would seek to tear down what humanity had built. The road to galactic conquest would be fraught with struggles, political intrigue, and cosmic wars, but humanity had learned an invaluable lesson in their first victory: no force in the galaxy could outmatch their resolve. The human legacy had begun. The victory over the Vethari was just the beginning of humanity's journey through the stars. The galaxy was vast, filled with ancient powers, enigmatic species, and countless threats lurking in the darkness between stars. Yet, what humanity lacked in numbers and centuries of history, they made up for in their drive, adaptability, and the ability to forge powerful alliances. It was this ability that would soon see the birth of the Galactic Coalition, a sprawling network of allied worlds united under the banner of human leadership. As humanity expanded across the galaxy, they encountered species whose power and influence were immense. There were the Exarians, a race of telepathic beings whose society was built on centuries of psychic mastery. Their ability to communicate and control minds had allowed them to maintain a stranglehold on vast sectors of space. The Koroth, a brutal, warlike species that had been known for conquering and consuming entire planets, were equally formidable. Their armies were without equal, their desire for expansion unyielding. However, where others saw obstacles, humanity saw opportunities. The leadership of the fledgling Terran Empire understood that isolation would only lead to stagnation, that survival depended on cooperation with other species. But diplomacy was not easy. Many of the galaxy's older races were wary of humanity's sudden rise and growing influence. The fear of being overshadowed by a species still in its infancy in the galactic theater made negotiations delicate. But humanity's reputation for resilience and their willingness to stand firm in the face of overwhelming odds worked to their advantage. Human diplomats, seasoned by years of Earth's tumultuous political history, took to the stars. They approached the Exarians with humility, acknowledging the deep-rooted power of their psychic abilities while offering technological advancements that would make the Exarians' minds even more potent. In return, the Exarians, intrigued by the possibility of merging their telepathic powers with humanity's cutting-edge technology, agreed to join the coalition. The Koroth, seeing humanity's potential as a powerful ally in their quest for dominance, found it more beneficial to forge an alliance rather than be crushed beneath the boot of human resolve. Though their cultures were vastly different, the bond between the Koroth and humanity was one born of mutual respect for strength. The Galactic Coalition began to take shape as species with their own traditions and ambitions found common ground in the face of greater threats. The Terran Empire, led by a newly formed council of human leaders, stood at the head of this alliance. With the military prowess of the Koroth, the telepathic mastery of the Exarians, and the technological ingenuity of humanity, the coalition was soon a force to be reckoned with. But it wasn't just the major powers that were drawn to the coalition's banner. Smaller, less powerful races began to pledge their allegiance, seeing the coalition as a chance to rise from the shadows of their larger, more domineering neighbors. The Zephyr, an aquatic species with incredible speed and agility, brought their mastery of aquatic warfare to the table. The Talon, a race of nomadic engineers, contributed their unparalleled knowledge of shipbuilding and starfaring logistics. Together, they formed a network of resources, skills, and knowledge that no singular empire could hope to match. Humanity, however, did not stop at forming alliances. They saw the coalition as a means to further their ambitions, not just in military power, but in exploration and scientific discovery. The galaxy held untold secrets, ancient technologies hidden on forgotten planets, and wonders that could unlock even greater powers. Humanity's explorers, driven by their endless curiosity, were quick to venture into uncharted space, discovering new planets, ancient ruins, and artifacts from civilizations long lost. It was the promise of these treasures, both technological and cultural, that fueled the coalition's relentless push outward. But even as humanity's power grew, so too did the darker forces in the galaxy. Not all species were so quick to accept the coalition's rise. The Zalthorn, a race of ancient, nearly immortal beings who had watched civilizations rise and fall for millennia, viewed humanity's rapid ascent as a threat. The Zalthorn had long been the stewards of ancient knowledge, and they saw the human drive for discovery and conquest as an affront to the delicate balance of the universe. And as the coalition's influence spread, their gaze turned to the vast, untapped resources of the core worlds, a region of the galaxy long considered forbidden, where the Zalthorn had kept their greatest secrets hidden. It was here, in the heart of the galaxy, that the coalition would face its first true test. Would humanity's rapid rise be the beginning of a new golden age, or would it spark a war that would shatter the fragile alliances they had worked so hard to build? The Galactic Coalition, united under the banner of human leadership, was now poised to face the challenges of the galaxy. And though they were stronger than ever, the road ahead was fraught with danger. The rise of humanity had not gone unnoticed, and the galaxy would soon learn whether their legacy would be one of peace, discovery, or conquest. As the Galactic Coalition's influence spread across the galaxy, humanity's ascendancy was felt in every corner of space. Yet, the Coalition's rapid growth began to stir unrest in those who had long believed themselves the guardians of the galaxy's secrets, most notably, the Zalthorn. An ancient race, the Zalthorn had existed for eons, their long-lived nature allowing them to observe the rise and fall of countless civilizations. They had long kept their knowledge hidden, fearing that revealing it would disrupt the delicate balance of the universe. To them, humanity's sudden rise represented an uncontrollable force that could unravel everything they had preserved. The Zalthorn's warning was clear: the core worlds, the central and most ancient region of the galaxy, held power far beyond anything humanity had yet encountered. This territory, forbidden to all but the most trusted of beings, was home to artifacts and technologies that predated most galactic civilizations by millennia. For centuries, the Zalthorn had acted as its guardians, maintaining a vigilant watch over these ancient relics and ensuring they did not fall into the wrong hands. But humanity's unrelenting curiosity and their drive to expand had brought them too close to the core worlds, and the Zalthorn would not allow them to trespass. The Coalition's explorers, ever eager to uncover the mysteries of the galaxy, had long suspected that the core worlds were home to secrets of unimaginable power. They had already begun to probe the outer edges of this forbidden zone, uncovering strange signals and long-forgotten remnants of ancient technologies. But what they didn't know was that every move they made was being watched, calculated, and meticulously planned by the Zalthorn. It was not until a group of human explorers, led by Captain Aliana Cross, ventured too deep into the core worlds that the Zalthorn made their presence known. Their ships, sleek and nearly invisible to the human sensors, emerged from the darkness of space, surrounding the human fleet with a cold and overwhelming force. The Zalthorn's emissaries made their demands clear: leave the core worlds, or face annihilation. Aliana Cross, a seasoned veteran of countless conflicts, was not one to back down. She had seen the brutality of war, but she had also witnessed humanity's ability to adapt, to rise above the impossible. The human fleet, though outmatched technologically, would not yield to the threats of a race that saw them as insignificant. Captain, her communications officer, Lieutenant Kalen, said urgently, "They're not just sending a message, they're ready to make good on their threat." Cross stared at the holographic projection of the Zalthorn fleet, their ships radiating an ancient and foreboding energy. Her mind raced as she considered her options. The coalition had been built on diplomacy and unity, but the Zalthorn had shown no interest in negotiating. This wasn't just a territorial dispute, it was a challenge to humanity's place in the galaxy. "We can't back down," she said, her voice resolute. "Prepare the fleet. We'll negotiate, but we'll also show them what humanity is capable of." The confrontation was inevitable, but what humanity lacked in ancient power, they more than made up for in their adaptability and sheer determination. Cross's fleet had been trained to think outside the box, to exploit weaknesses in enemy tactics. While the Zalthorn relied on their overwhelming presence and centuries of knowledge, humanity would take advantage of their speed, their unpredictability, and their willingness to risk everything. The ensuing battle was one of cosmic proportions. Zalthorn ships, with their cloaking technologies and unmatched precision, took the first strike, targeting the human fleet with devastating accuracy. However, Captain Cross had anticipated their tactics. Using the latest advancements in human technology, the fleet deployed a series of electromagnetic pulses that disrupted the Zalthorn's cloaking systems, rendering their ships visible for the first time. But even as the battle raged, Cross knew that victory would not come through firepower alone. It was humanity's ability to adapt, to innovate, that would ultimately determine the outcome. They turned their ships into unpredictable formations, constantly shifting and using their smaller, faster vessels to outmaneuver the ancient warships of the Zalthorn. Every move was calculated, every maneuver designed to keep the Zalthorn off balance. The battle reached a fever pitch, with both sides suffering heavy losses. But then, a breakthrough came. Lieutenant Kalen, in the heat of the fight, managed to decrypt a Zalthorn communication, revealing that the ancient race had long suspected humanity's potential but had hoped to keep them in check. They believed that humanity's unchecked ambition could bring about the fall of the galaxy. Armed with this knowledge, Cross made a bold decision. Instead of continuing the brutal exchange, she opened a direct communication channel with the Zalthorn command. The Zalthorn emissary appeared on screen, an ancient figure, their eyes glowing with the weight of millennia. But instead of demanding surrender, Cross spoke with a clarity and conviction that few had ever seen in the face of such immense power. "We will not stop," she declared, "but we will not destroy the galaxy in the process. Let us work together, learn from each other. Humanity seeks knowledge, but we also seek peace. Help us understand what you are protecting." For a long moment, there was silence. The Zalthorn emissary regarded her, his gaze unblinking, as if weighing the truth of her words. Finally, with a gesture that seemed to carry centuries of wisdom, he spoke. "Perhaps, there is more to you than we thought, human." In that moment, the first cracks in the Zalthorn's cold, unwavering resolve began to form. The galaxy would soon learn whether humanity's will could truly shape the future of the stars, or if the ancient guardians of the galaxy would remain the ultimate power. The uneasy truce between humanity and the Zalthorn had shattered the illusion that the ancient race was invincible. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was forced to consider the possibility that humanity's rise was not only unstoppable but could redefine the balance of power itself. Yet, the uneasy peace was fragile, and the future of the Galactic Coalition hung in the balance. Captain Aliana Cross's daring communication with the Zalthorn emissary had opened the door to an unexpected alliance. While the Zalthorn had agreed to cease hostilities, they were far from willing to share the secrets of the core worlds easily. Instead, they proposed a challenge, a trial by knowledge. If humanity could prove their worthiness, if they could demonstrate the understanding and restraint required to wield the ancient technologies of the core, then they would be granted access to the deepest secrets of the galaxy. But if humanity failed, the Zalthorn would withdraw their offer and destroy the human fleet, along with anyone who dared to stand beside them. It was a dangerous gamble, but Cross knew humanity had no other choice. She couldn't let the Zalthorn dictate the galaxy's future, and more importantly, she couldn't let her people stagnate. The knowledge locked within the core worlds could transform humanity's understanding of the universe, propelling them to the forefront of galactic civilization. But it came with a cost. Every step into the unknown could be a step toward disaster. The challenge set by the Zalthorn was simple yet terrifying. Humanity would have to navigate the most perilous sections of the core worlds, where ancient machines lay dormant, long-forgotten civilizations had left their marks, and the fabric of space itself could twist and bend in strange, unpredictable ways. It was a trial of intellect, willpower, and determination. The Zalthorn had only ever trusted their own kind with such a test, but now they were willing to give humanity a chance, provided they could survive the trial. As the Coalition's fleet prepared to embark on this perilous journey, there was an undercurrent of tension among the allies. The Karath, with their brutal, warlike nature, were eager for the glory of the upcoming venture, their battle instincts itching for the thrill of combat. The Exarians, their psychic abilities honed over millennia, were cautious, their trust in the Coalition's leadership wavering as they pondered the risks. Even the Talon engineers, who had forged many of the ships that would carry the fleet into the core, were uncertain of what they would face. Humanity, however, was united. For the first time in their short but meteoric rise, they found themselves standing together, knowing that the stakes were higher than ever before. They had already fought wars, forged alliances, and conquered impossible odds. But this was different. This was not a battle with a physical enemy. This was a test of their minds, their hearts, and their very souls. Cross stood on the bridge of the Sovereign, her flagship, staring out at the blackness of space. The fleet was ready. The Zalthorn had already cleared a path through the more treacherous sectors, but the trial was far from over. The core worlds were an enigma, and no one knew what awaited them inside. "Captain, we're receiving strange readings from the edge of the core," Lieutenant Kalen reported, his voice filled with urgency. "There are fluctuations in space-time, gravitational anomalies. It's unlike anything we've encountered." Cross felt a knot tighten in her stomach. They had prepared for this, but it was still unsettling. "Keep monitoring, Kalen." All ships, stay alert. We're entering unknown territory. There is no turning back now. The fleet moved forward, their ships cutting through the void toward the heart of the galaxy. As they entered the core worlds, the very fabric of space seemed to warp around them. Stars blinked in and out of existence, strange nebulous clouds shimmered with eerie colors, and the energy from long-dead suns seemed to pulse with a life of its own. The fleet moved slowly, carefully, knowing that even the smallest mistake could be catastrophic. Days passed as they ventured deeper, with every ship on high alert. The Zalthorn had given them little more than a map, an outline of the trial's parameters, and a warning, *survive, and you will have earned the right to wield the galaxy's greatest knowledge. Fail, and you will be lost forever, *. The first test came when the fleet encountered an ancient machine, a relic of a civilization long gone. It was massive, its shape impossible to fully comprehend, its surface covered in symbols and markings that seemed to shift and change with every passing moment. The machine pulsed with an energy that defied explanation, and as they approached, a strange signal echoed through the fleet's communications channels. "It's alive," Lieutenant Kalen murmured, his voice tinged with awe. Cross nodded. "It's a test. Keep your focus. We need to figure out how to deactivate it without triggering a disaster." As the Sovereign and its fleet neared the machine, a sudden surge of energy erupted from the surface, sending shockwaves through the space around them. Systems on the human ships flickered, lights dimmed, and the very space they occupied seemed to twist. The fleet's sensors went haywire, and the Zalthorn's cryptic message echoed in their minds, "Only the worthy shall pass." In that moment, it became clear, this was not just a test of intelligence. It was a test of trust, trust in each other, trust in their allies, and trust in humanity's ability to survive against the impossible. Captain Cross ordered the fleet to make a daring maneuver, using the ship's combined technology and psychic energy from the Exarians to create a field of stability around the fleet. It was a delicate process, one that required not only precision but unity. If one ship faltered, they would all be lost. For hours, they worked together, each crew member doing their part, until finally, the machine's energy subsided and the waves of chaos eased. The fleet had passed the first test, but they knew that even greater challenges lay ahead. The core worlds were full of ancient mysteries, and the greatest challenges would not come in the form of machines, but from the very forces that had shaped the galaxy itself. The first trial of the core worlds had been overcome, but the deeper humanity ventured, the more apparent it became that the galaxy's greatest mysteries were not for the faint of heart. Captain Aliana Cross and the Galactic Coalition's fleet had passed the first test, but now they found themselves on the edge of something far darker, a force that defied understanding. As the fleet entered the heart of the core, the very essence of reality seemed to bend and warp around them. The strange gravitational anomalies, the endless fluctuations of space-time, they were not just remnants of an ancient civilization, they were symptoms of a much greater, far more sinister power. The Zalthorn had warned them that the core was a place where the very fabric of the universe could break. They had not been lying. Days passed as the fleet pressed on, their every movement calculated and deliberate. The Zalthorn, silent in their observance, had not offered further guidance. Humanity was being tested, not only in their ability to adapt but in their courage to face what lay ahead. The next challenge came when the fleet stumbled upon an immense structure, something so massive that it made the Sovereign seem like a mere speck in comparison. It appeared as a rotating labyrinth of shifting energy and matter, a structure that was both ancient and impossible to understand. It was a vast artificial construct, older than any known race, and no map or sensor could make sense of its design. Its walls shimmered with an ethereal glow, its energy pulses unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. A deep, unsettling hum filled the air as the Sovereign approached the structure, and Captain Cross felt her heart rate quicken. The energy surrounding the structure was not just physical, it was psychological. The deeper they got into the heart of the galaxy, the more the crew began to sense strange phenomena. Hallucinations. Whispers in the dark. Feelings of dread that couldn't be explained. There was a force at work here, something that preyed on the mind, a presence that sought to break their resolve. This place, Kalen said, his voice strained, "It's affecting our sensors. I can't get a solid read on it. It's like it's alive." Cross didn't respond immediately, her mind working furiously to make sense of the situation. She had trained for many things: battles, political intrigue, even survival in the most hostile environments, but this? This was beyond any known form of warfare. This was not just a test of strength or intellect, it was a test of the human will. "Prepare for entry," Cross ordered, her voice calm despite the chaos of thoughts swirling in her mind. "We need to know what's inside." The fleet entered the labyrinthine structure, and as they did, the very laws of physics seemed to shift. They passed through walls that rippled like water, entering chambers that defied any logical geometry. Gravity fluctuated wildly, and the walls seemed to pulse with an ominous energy. Time itself felt distorted, minutes stretched into hours, and the very nature of reality seemed to bend under the weight of the structure's influence. Then, in the heart of this impossible maze, they found what they were seeking. A massive chamber, containing an artifact of unimaginable power. It was a crystalline structure, suspended in the air by an invisible force. The crystal was pulsing with energy, a silent, glowing beacon of raw cosmic potential. It was a relic of the ancient civilization that had created this place, and it had the power to alter the very fabric of existence. "This is it," Cross whispered to herself. "The heart of the core." The Zalthorn had warned them about the heart. It was a source of unlimited power, but it came with a price. Those who had once wielded it had gone mad, their minds consumed by its influence. They had tried to harness its power, but instead, it had consumed them, their civilizations collapsing under the weight of the heart's devastating knowledge. To control it would mean to risk everything. Kalen's voice broke through the heavy silence. "Captain, it's calling to us. I can feel it." Cross closed her eyes, focusing on the sensations overwhelming her senses. She could feel it too, its presence, its pull. The heart was not just a machine or a relic, it was a consciousness. A sentience that had been lying dormant for eons, waiting for someone to awaken it. It spoke to her, not in words but in images, memories, and visions. The histories of the ancient civilizations who had come before. The wars they had fought. The mistakes they had made. The knowledge they had acquired. And most terrifying of all, visions of humanity's future, a future where their species wielded the power of the heart and bent the galaxy to their will. A future where humanity ruled everything. "No," Cross whispered, shaking her head. "We will not fall into the same trap." The heart was offering them the galaxy. It was offering them the power to reshape the universe, to remake it in their image. But Cross understood the temptation all too well. The Zalthorn had feared this power for a reason. The heart had the potential to destroy not just civilizations, but entire realities. If humanity took it, they would risk becoming the very thing they had fought against: tyrants, conquerors, and destroyers of everything they had once fought to protect. "Captain, we've been in this chamber for too long," Kalen said urgently. "The effects are intensifying. We need to make a decision." Cross's mind raced. The heart offered power, yes, but at what cost? The temptation to seize it was overwhelming, but humanity had already faced the consequences of unchecked ambition. This was the ultimate test, the test of their will. "Prepare to leave the chamber," Cross ordered. "We can't let this power consume us. Humanity's legacy will not be built on domination. It will be built on discovery, on understanding, and on peace." But even as she gave the command, a deep, guttural voice echoed in her mind, a voice that was not her own, a voice that was ancient, that was the heart itself. "Asterisk, you cannot leave. You will not leave, asterisk." The voice of the heart reverberated through the very core of Captain Aliana Cross's mind, its power impossibly vast, its presence overwhelming. The walls of the chamber seemed to close in, and the air grew thick, heavy with a pressure that made it hard to breathe. The crew of the Sovereign was not immune to its effects. Around her, her officers looked dazed, their eyes unfocused as the influence of the heart gripped them. Even the Zalthorn, once silent in their distant observation, seemed to feel its power from afar. It was not just a relic, it was a force of nature, a consciousness that demanded attention. "You cannot leave," the voice repeated, its tone now cold and insistent, the words not spoken aloud but felt, as if they were being etched into the very fabric of Cross's soul. "You have awoken me, and now you are mine. No one can resist me. You will join me, and the galaxy will be remade." Cross stood rooted to the spot, her heart hammering in her chest. Her hands shook, but she kept her gaze locked on the heart. Her mind was being flooded with images of power, of the galaxy falling into place, of humanity ascending beyond all others. The visions promised untold dominion over the stars, a future where no species could stand against them. But Cross, deep in her core, knew better. She had seen what unchecked power could do to civilizations. She had seen it in the faces of those who sought to conquer, to control, to dominate. She had seen the destruction that ambition could bring. "Captain." Lieutenant Kalen's voice cut through the oppressive weight of the heart's influence. He was struggling, his hands gripping the edge of his console. We can't hold it back. It's too strong." For a brief moment, Cross felt the grip of the heart loosen just slightly as the crew rallied to her side, their presence anchoring her. But the force of the heart, its seductive whispers, was still there, pulling at their minds, trying to break them down. "No," Cross said, her voice steady, defiant. "We're not giving in. We are humanity. And we will never be enslaved by anything, not even this." As she spoke, her words echoed through the chamber, an act of resistance that resonated through the minds of her crew. She could feel the presence of her people, their determination, their resolve. Humanity had always been defined by its ability to stand in the face of overwhelming odds and refuse to bend. This was no different. They had fought for survival before, and they would do it again. The heart roared, its power surging in a final attempt to break them. The space around them warped, reality itself beginning to unravel as the heart lashed out, desperate to claim them. But Cross, feeling the weight of every life she was responsible for, focused with everything she had left. She drew on the strength of her crew, of humanity's collective spirit. This was their trial, not of knowledge, not of strength, but of will. "Fight it," she whispered, her words reaching her officers. "We are the legacy of those who defied the impossible. We are more than this. We are humanity." Her words sparked something within her crew. Their resistance grew, slowly at first, but then with greater force. The Zalthorn, who had been watching silently, stirred as well. They had never seen such defiance before. The power of the heart might have overwhelmed other civilizations, but humanity was different. "We can do this." Lieutenant Kalen shouted, his eyes clearing as the pull of the heart began to weaken. "We can choose who we are." With renewed determination, the crew of the Sovereign initiated a synchronized effort to create a field that would isolate the heart's influence, blocking its ability to penetrate their minds. Using the collective power of the Exarians' psychic abilities, the Talon engineers' technological brilliance, and humanity's unshakable will, they created a protective barrier around the fleet, allowing them to break free from the heart's grasp. But even as the power of the heart waned, a new threat emerged. The Zalthorn, whose alliance with humanity had always been tenuous at best, now revealed their true intentions. Their emissary, who had once seemed so wise and ancient, stepped forward. The Zalthorn had never intended to allow humanity to walk away from the heart unscathed. They had been testing humanity all along, gauging their strength, their resolve, and their ability to resist temptation. "You are fools," the Zalthorn emissary declared, his voice cold and filled with disdain. "You would dare defy the will of the heart? It is the key to the galaxy's true power. You cannot begin to understand what you have unleashed." Cross stood her ground, her eyes hard. "We understand more than you think. Humanity will never be swayed by power alone. We choose our destiny, and it will not be dictated by ancient forces or the dreams of those who think they own the galaxy." The emissary's gaze narrowed. He had expected humanity to be broken by the heart, to bend to its will and surrender to the ancient knowledge that promised ultimate control. Instead, they had defied it, and in doing so, had proven something far more dangerous: humanity was not to be controlled. "We are not your tools," Cross said, her voice firm. "You can either join us in protecting this galaxy, or you can stand aside." The Zalthorn's face twisted with fury, but Cross's words struck a chord. The ancient race had never encountered a force like humanity, individuals who would not be swayed, who would choose their path no matter the cost. The Zalthorn had ruled with an iron grip, manipulating the galaxy's flow, keeping others in check. But humanity had shown them that there was more to strength than knowledge or power. The emissary said nothing, but his expression betrayed his realization: humanity would never be controlled. It was a legacy that had been forged through struggle, sacrifice, and an unwavering belief in the potential to rise above. The heart's influence faded, its presence diminishing as the crew of the Sovereign turned away from the temptation of ultimate power. Their path was not clear, there were still challenges to face, but in that moment, they had proven one undeniable truth: humanity's legacy was one of choice. And nothing, not even the heart of the core, would take that away from them. The influence of the heart had faded, but its impact on the crew of the Sovereign would not be easily forgotten. As they withdrew from the labyrinthine chamber, Cross and her officers were solemn, their minds still heavy with the gravity of what they had just encountered. The heart had offered them a future of absolute power, a future where humanity could reign over the galaxy, but they had chosen a different path. They had chosen the difficult road, the road of resistance, of forging a destiny not through domination, but through unity and discovery. The fleet exited the core worlds, the strange anomalies and gravitational forces that had bent reality now behind them. The way forward was still unclear, but the galaxy had just witnessed something unprecedented: humanity, a young species among the stars, had stood before an ancient power and rejected it. They had not succumbed to the temptation of absolute control, but instead had proven their worth by choosing the future they believed in. As they left the shadow of the heart behind, the crew felt the weight of their choice. The Zalthorn, once silent in their assessment of humanity's actions, had now made their decision as well. They had expected humanity to fall, to succumb to the power they could not resist, but instead they saw a new force in the galaxy. Humanity had earned their respect. The Zalthorn emissary appeared on the bridge of the Sovereign, his expression inscrutable. He spoke, but his voice lacked the arrogance it had once held. "You have proven yourself, Captain Cross," he said, his words slow and deliberate. "You and your people have defied expectations, and in doing so, you have shown that humanity is not to be underestimated. The galaxy has been reshaped by your actions." Cross nodded, her gaze steady as she looked into the eyes of the ancient race. "We are not here to dominate the galaxy. We are here to explore, to learn, and to create a future where all species can thrive." The power of the heart was not meant to be wielded by any one race. It was meant to be understood. The Zalthorn seemed to consider this for a long moment before nodding. "Your wisdom may be your greatest strength, Captain. In time, you may come to learn that there are more forces at play in the galaxy than even the heart could reveal. But for now, we will stand with you, humanity." The weight of his words hung in the air. The Zalthorn had never been a race known for their alliances, but humanity had proven that they were not just a fleeting presence in the galaxy. They had earned their place, not through conquest or force, but through the strength of their ideals. As the Zalthorn emissary left the bridge, Cross turned to her crew, her heart swelling with pride. The fleet had made it through the trial, but more than that, they had proven something far greater. They had proven that humanity was a force to be reckoned with, not because of their strength alone, but because of their will to make a difference. They had defied the expectations of ancient races, and they had chosen a path of discovery, peace, and cooperation. "We've done it," Cross said, her voice filled with quiet satisfaction. "The galaxy is ours to explore, to protect, and to shape. This is our legacy." But even as they celebrated their victory, there was no illusion of an easy path ahead. The galaxy was vast, and the challenges they faced were far from over. The heart, though rejected, was not the only force that would test them. There were other factions, ancient and new, who would seek to claim the stars for themselves, and the coalition was only just beginning to understand the true nature of the forces they were now contending with. The final test, however, had not been about power or knowledge. It had been about something more elusive, something that would define humanity's future for generations to come, their ability to choose their own destiny. They had faced temptation, they had defied an ancient power, and they had emerged stronger for it. As the fleet charted its course to the next frontier, Cross looked out at the stars once more, a determined gleam in her eyes. The galaxy was vast and full of mysteries, but humanity was ready. They had taken the first step toward a new age of exploration, one where the legacy of humanity would not be defined by conquest, but by the courage to explore the unknown, to forge alliances, and to choose their path with honor. The journey ahead was uncertain, but humanity had already proven something undeniable: they would not be forgotten. They would leave their mark on the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as pioneers, explorers, and protectors of the unknown. The new age of galactic exploration and conquest had begun, and humanity was at its helm. The future was theirs to shape.